Hello and welcome to another exciting episode on Conversations with Jumie. On today's conversation, we are discussing internet fraud. Now, yes, internet fraud. I'm sure most of you were like, yes, those scammers, those people that have been scamming me of my money. Yes, that is why I think it's a very important topic to talk about. I mean, we've been hearing lots of news about how people have been getting scammed online. I mean, it's not something new, but with the case of Hush Puppy, it became really prevalent, and we know that the internet comes with a lot of goodies, but there are some persons who are virtually at every corner trying to see how they can defraud people, especially with the economic downturn that we have now in the country and also globally. So, and people are beginning to devise means on how they can get money out from people through the internet. So that's why I have invited a guest would be in the studio today who would be discussing on internet fraud, how we can protect ourselves from these fraudsters, and revealing to us some of these tactics that these people use to get information. Because I also have a very personal story, and I was wondering how they could use just something as little as date of birth to zap all the money from your account. But let us go on this break, and when I come back, I'll be introducing my guest on the program. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to the program. My guest today is Mr. Sheun Jesuride. He is a consultant in Techies Info System. I hope I got that right.
Yes, you're right.
Welcome to the program, sir.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Okay. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for granting us this interview. So let us begin from the basic. Okay. When did internet fraud really begin? And I was actually trying to make my own findings, and when I just googled, okay, when did it all start, internet fraud, and the information it brought out was, it became popular when Nigerians were defrauding Westerners in the 1990s. And I'm like, now why did they have to mention Nigeria? Because to me it was like they were just trying to attack blacks. I mean, we all know this racism going on all around. So in your own understanding, tell us when this became really rampant.
Okay, I think if we go to Wikipedia, you see it started, internet fraud particularly started in 1994. That's what Wikipedia told us, is on the online. But if we're going to look at it in the context of when did internet fraud start, perhaps that was just a record from them, but I believe that it started when something juicy came up on the internet, when there is motivation for people to perpetrate fraud. Fraud has always been in existence. So when internet came to be, initially it wasn't that interesting in terms of there were no financial motivation for people to do fraud. So along the line, when we begin to have applications online, like e-commerce site, like online banking, like some other transactional financial transactions happening online, then internet fraud began to come up. Like they say, when you solve a problem, you create another one. So I think internet fraud came up when the problem of people being able to communicate over the internet existed, and when there was sufficient motivation to commit fraud over the internet. So I can just say that's perhaps, and if you look at that, you may be estimating roughly in between the 90s, the mid 90s, thereabout.
Okay, all right. So while I was introducing the show, I talked about someone who I know very well. She was called and they requested for a date of birth, and when she gave them the info, she realized that the money in her account has been taken away. So something as maybe trivial, because you can always get one date of birth anyway. Do you think that's enough information to actually access your account statement and know how much you have and just take it out of?
Okay. I think that what had happened was she gave the value that was left for them to complete that operation. Now, they had gotten some information, but they needed something to conclude it. So they had to perform what we call social engineering on her. Yeah, that's just trying to for that is a type of social engineering called vision, the voice, phishing over a voice call or something like that. So they just called her and perhaps present themselves to be very genuine, authentic, and so perhaps she just felt, okay, I can trust no matter what, let me just give that information out. So having that information, it was just like finishing the task.
So basically, just know your date of birth can't really give them so much.
It shouldn't, but perhaps they have a card number, or they have some details that proves that she is the one making the transaction. You see, in information security, we have what we call PII. So a PII is an acronym for personal identifiable information. Okay. Personal identifiable information includes your names, surname, first name, last names, your date of birth, sometimes your email, and perhaps even your mother's maiden name.
Okay.
So some of those information are very, very important because when you are doing something online, when they are told to register, these are basically some of the information you provide to the merchant or for the transaction you're about to do. And added to that, in the age of technology, and then you have card transactions, on your card you have some of this information actually embedded into your card. Your card. So, and then on your card you have a PAN in front of your card, and you have some 1-3 digits at the back of that card. The PAN in front of your card uniquely identifies you too. Yeah. So the PAN in front of your card uniquely identifies you and maps you to your account. The one at the back, CVV code they call it. So it's also gives a level of authorization for your transaction. So for instance, in the case you have mentioned, for instance, what might have happened is perhaps the person has a card. Do you get it? Now the person was trying to go on with a transaction, but on the platform, on the merchant platform, it must have possibly be that the merchant is stopping that transaction because they needed to have a date of birth. Or the other way may be that the person successfully presented himself like her to the bank, and then the bank is trying to say, okay, tell us your date of birth to confirm you are the one that we are speaking to.
Wow.
So the person needs to conclude that process by actually getting across to who is that person, and getting that information from her. And as soon as the person got the information, it concluded the cycle, and they were able to go on with their transaction, and that was what happened. So in itself, the date of birth is not entirely the only information that was required, but there are some that had been fed and also gotten from some other process before concluding the transaction with that date of birth. So,
wow.
So that opened the gates for the crime.
That's because I kept wondering that date of birth. But I don't know how safe if they can just use date of birth. But you're telling me that they already have a pre-existing information, just needed down just to complete the transaction.
Yes.
Okay, now another practical example I want us to talk about is these various links that people send to us.
Okay.
I received one talking about how federal government empower, and a lot of people close to me clicked on that link, And it got to a part that it requested for your name and your account number.
Okay.
People didn't really see that as a big deal. You can get my name and you can get my account number any day. But it was actually a scam. So I don't know. I haven't given that sort of information. Do you think what are the risks there? Because they didn't ask for BVN.
Okay. You know, sometimes there is an adage, is a bit in my culture, and then that says that you are not as smart as this person that is trying to get you. And most times they are very patient. You know, your information it may take them 2 years to actually get all that they require. But of course your name will not change in 2 years. If you are married, your date of birth will not change. Most likely, where you have used your emails, you will likely not go there and go and change them. So if they have some of those information, it's just, let's put that aside. Then what do you need next? That's the next question for them. So
it's a process for them.
It's a process. It's not most times because it's actually a job for them too. Most times it's not that they want to get everything at the moment. If they are able to get everything at the moment, I mean the bad guys now, good. But of course, the thing is getting it all now or later. As long as they got their victim, they are good with it. So all the information you give them at the moment may not be sufficient to carry out the fraudulent transaction on your behalf. But it has increased their information about you.
Yeah, true.
And so maybe they may only require one or two more.
But do you think? But let's talk about the sort of access it can give them at that moment.
Okay.
How much access can it give them? Because I was actually thinking, hope it's not as if automatically they've been able to access the contact to your phone.
Yeah, they may not.
Okay.
They may not. What can possibly happen is, for instance, let me know the details. Your names.
Yes.
Okay.
And your account number.
Your account number. Okay. Your email.
No. Didn't request for email.
Okay. Your phone number.
No, just name and account number.
A name and account number. Well, that's still basic. They may not be able to do much with name and account number.
Okay.
But it also now depends on how determined the bad person is. Because with your name and account number, if you're actually a target, they can go ahead and collude with people within maybe a particular bank premises and then see what they can do, because they already have your account number. Because with your account number, they may be able to get further information about you if they want to. I could remember there was a time I went to a commercial bank in Nigeria, and there was I was broke then, and the lady called me and asked me that she needed some fund to maybe do one or two things. We were really not so close, but I just felt, okay, if I can assist, let me go ahead. And I got to the bank, and I don't know why I gave the account number of the lady to, I can't remember maybe it's the customer care officer or who attended to me. It's a long time. And then the next thing was that he wrote the balance of the account for me. So when I saw the balance, I found out that it's even more than what I have. So what I'm trying to say is that because I think it wasn't conscious of what he felt maybe I was asking for my account balance. Do you get it? So if I can have access to that, if a determined can I use a hacker, a determined attacker wants to get further information about you with your account number, you can, because actually most of the time banks have a lot of details about us.
Yes.
And most of the time they always try to get it as accurate as possible.
True.
So you can still use some of that.
Okay, now speaking about banks, is it true that most of these hackers have informants in the bank, or could it be that most of the people who work in bank are most of these fraudsters? Because Some of them would actually tell you your location, your name, your date of birth. They don't have every other thing. But they're probably just asking you for maybe the foolish ones. Because you can't be asking me for my BV and I'm going to tell you. But they have all other information.
Yeah.
How do they get this other information? Because people say maybe they have people in the bank or maybe they have people in the bank who's giving them such information.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, the thing about the banks is that they are doing their best to protect our information, and I think NITDA is doing a lot about privacy in terms of there was some regulation that came up recently about the data protection regulation from NITDA, and it's being monitored. But at the same time, you see, I will not deny the fact that in financial institutions, not necessarily banks alone, or commercial banks alone, there can be collusion. We use the term collusion in security because two people have to, if a transaction have to go through three or more people to be successful, then it means that they have to collude to get that transaction done. So most times they could, an external person could work with an internal person to execute a fraud, and that is the aspect of those set of people are the people we call insider threats in the security parlance. Insider threats are people that are within the organization that are ready to compromise the security of the institution. So for most of the time it's not actually the bank as it were, but once there are bad eggs that are interested in, they are sufficiently motivated either by greed or by grudge against the company or by some form of dissatisfaction, so they can actually always find a means to carry out fraudulent transactions, colluding with external parties.
Yeah, thank you very much for clearing that. All right, so let's go on this quick commercial break, and when we come back, the conversations will continue. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to the program. If you're just joining in, I've been speaking to Mr. Shehu Jesunridi, and he's been educating us on internet fraud and how to protect ourselves. Let us talk about the protection part of it now. So how do we shield ourselves from internet fraudsters?
Yeah, basically what I think we need to first take note of is that internet is not as a lot of people think about it. Why am I saying that? Sometimes I found out that a lot of people use the internet carelessly, casually. They feel, well, nobody sees me. They feel I'm safe here. They feel I can just hide my actions. So people really don't give attention to what is done there. And you see, trust is very, very key to transactions. And for trust to take place, there must be a relationship. Now, when people feel safe, as in, let me use that word in quotes, that is, trust the internet, sometimes they just throw their information, some of them PII, on it without asking the questions. Am I safe? And where I'm putting my information, how are they protecting it? What are their policies? A lot of people don't really ask the solution providers or the applications on the internet, the sites. They don't check what are their privacy policy, what are their security policy, what are they doing to ensure that I'm safe, what are the security protocols they are using. So I think that people should more pay attention on how they interact with the internet, to think as if they are open to the world and everybody have access to them. So if you know you are open to the world and everybody has access to you, you know how you try to carry yourself, present yourself, guide your activities. So I think it's the same way on the internet. If we can do that, watch our level of trust to everything we see online, it will guide us. If we can also be careful of how we expose our identity, it will also guide us. If we can also be careful about how we use for instance, if you go to a public place where there is free Wi-Fi, it's very quick to believe that, oh, thank God, I've been trying to get internet, particularly in this part of the world, you just see a free Wi-Fi.
Luxury for us.
Let me quickly use and download and do this. And some even carry out banking transaction via that platform, via that. But you know that free Wi-Fi is connected to somebody too. You see, the internet, the word internet itself is internet work. What is connected together are servers, or let me use a simple language, systems connected together across the globe. And if we go into details, we begin to talk about the IP addresses and some other details of those, because each of those systems have addresses. That's why someone doing something in Nigeria can be tracked from the US, because their addresses are located to this area, and every system that uses, everyone that uses systems in this area have a particular address they have to all follow through. So using a public space Wi-Fi is can be very dangerous, because you never can tell who is monitoring your transaction. And you can be keying in someone and something on your system, and someone somewhere is seeing all your details. You don't even have to tell the person. And sometimes the way it works is that it is not, because to be able to defraud, you must be able to buy the victim's trust. If I want to get your bank details, all I need to do is to know which bank do you bank with. Go online and check out their online banking platform looks like. Create or clone something that looks like that. Send an email that looks like the email they send. All of that, I'm trying to build your trust, and that's social engineering. So by the time you see that, you say, oh, this bank sends mail like this, and the next thing they put there, to update your KYC, we require your KYC, click this link. By the time you click the link, it takes you to a web platform that looks exactly like your online banking platform.
So like a revelation.
so when you see that, you are convinced that you are with your bank, but you are not. So by the time you start putting some information in, it's actually not getting to the bank, it's going to the wrong hand.
Wow.
So we must be careful of what we click, we must be careful of where we use where we use the internet. We must be careful of the information we provide. I will advise, particularly in regards to phishing, which is the one, email phishing particularly, people should learn to check the links they click. I would advise that instead of clicking links, it is better to right click on the link and copy the link and paste it on the browser. That will tell you exactly where it's coming from. And the other thing is to watch your address. Recently Google updated their Chrome such that a lot of browsers really, such that if you're browsing a site that does not have HTTPS, it will tell you not secure. So at least you can see, if you can see the word, at least you can see the red danger sign on your browser. So it tells you that the risk, you are browsing this site at your risk. You get it?
Yes.
So we must be careful how we engage online. Online is also a place. Just like in the world, you have the good guys, you have the bad guys. So we must be careful how we operate online. It's just, and because now a lot of things are going technology way.
Yes.
So we must be even more careful, because as we are enjoying the use, the bad guys are also happy that there are more victims online.
Yes. Thank you for revealing a lot to us about even the free Wi-Fi that we just click on anything and we don't really know what's happening underneath.
Yeah.
So let's talk about password.
Okay.
How secure is your password really? I mean, let's talk about social media account, because we hear of cases where social media accounts have been hacked.
Yeah.
So how was that possible? And how can people do people really have access to those passwords? Is it like example of Facebook? Is our password really safe with such social media sites? Or how do these hackers operate and get into your social media account?
Yeah. Let me give an example of my personal experience.
Okay.
I had a Twitter account sometimes. Maybe I can't remember exactly now. Maybe 7-8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Twitter account then, and of course, when I do some things on my Twitter account, or there's a notification on my Twitter account, they drop a message for me in my Yahoo account.
Okay.
So I can always pick that information from my Yahoo account, whatever is happening on my Twitter account. So I got to my Yahoo account that morning and I saw a message that was asking me to change my password. That maybe something happened. Because of the social media account, I really didn't dig deep to know what happened. I just clicked it. And then it opened the Twitter page for me to change my password. So, apparently, I attempted changing my password there the first time. It told me, it appeared like if it was wrong. And so, the change password page reappeared. So I felt, I think that was a mistake. I was trying to log in.
Okay.
Rather, I was trying to log into the Twitter account, and then I put my password, and then it turned back and said like if the password was wrong.
Was wrong.
I did it second time. It was until the third time I started thinking that what's happening. Before I knew it, I found out that I couldn't access my Twitter account again. Why? Just similar to what we discussed earlier. What had happened, what I believe had happened was that a Twitter page was cloned and presented to me like a Twitter account. A Twitter...
like your Twitter account.
You get it. So it was just... So the mail was actually a fraudulent mail. The link I clicked was a fraudulent one. The page that I saw was a fraudulent one. So they got my... account details, that is my username. They got my password. So with that they were just, so I have to start looking for how to get my account back, try to log in, change the password immediately, go to my Yahoo, change the password immediately, and just try to do some basic security things to contain that risk. So the social media itself, is not designed in a way to contain our privacy.
Okay.
So social media itself, it's because the truth is, even security and privacy, sometimes there's always an argument about security and privacy, because it gets to a point where in trying to make things secure, you have to begin to breach privacy.
Yes.
Do you get it?
Yes.
You have to start getting details. Because if you look at, there is a story of a popular guy that was a hacker, Kevin Mitnick. I don't know if you know that guy, but he was a popular hacker and then is currently in the good side now. But before he was caught, it took a hacker to get him as well, because he also needs to breach privacy to be able to get the guy and then of course help other people that he was hurting. So sometimes security and privacy can be a debate in terms of which one should we trade off for the other. So social media in itself, it's built for people to relate, it's built for people to discuss. So anything you put on social media, you cannot give 100% assurance to yourself that it is safe from everybody. In fact, most of the time they will tell you that it is how you set your security on your own account that determines what happens to your account. But if not, they are not responsible for whatever. So whatever you put there is at your risk.
Is at your risk. Social media, social is actually public.
Yes.
Now you can't really term that as being private.
Yes.
All right. So okay. In conclusion, I'd just like us to just highlight most of the forms of internet fraud and how we can protect ourselves. Just to emphasize on the core of this conversation.
Okay.
So let us begin from major internet fraud and how we can protect ourselves from the internet, from such.
Okay. I think it's quite similar. How to protect ourselves is quite similar from similar to what we've discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Major internet fraud, we have the advanced fee fraud, we have this Nigerian prince fraud, we have the email scams, we have a lot of other ones, but that has been classified in different ways. But the objective eventually is to be fraudulent, to take someone's phone without their permission, to breach security, you get it? So, or to destroy integrity of a particular platform. So, how to protect ourselves from
layman's understanding.
Layman, okay. To protect yourself.
Most of people that, I don't know, is it true? I think most of people that actually fall for such victims are maybe the elderly ones. So we need to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Like a bank would not call you, like grandpas, banks will not call you to ask for your information. Abi, banks will not call you to ask for such information.
I have an experience recently, like maybe sometimes late last year, about that. It happened to my dad. Yeah, he just saw a text also that was asking him about his account details, and then interestingly I was with him then. So and when he called the bank, his account officer was asking that he should send the mail that they sent to him back to him. I was telling him, don't send it yet, because the thing is about trust. I wanted him to get the bank and first of all block the account to avoid access by anyone to that account first, before then conversing with any other person that he wants to discuss with. So the first thing in preventing fraud is to be aware. I can't remember the name of the movie, but there's a particular guy that said in that movie, maybe along the line will remember, that what the devil always wants you to believe is that he does not exist. As long as the devil can get you to think that he does not exist, then the person will be easy.
Yeah.
It will be an easy prey.
Yeah.
So if people are aware of the risk online, I'm not trying to paint the internet bad, because it has a lot of advantages, but in interaction you must be aware of the limits. You must be careful with the level of trust you give out to using the platform. If we take necessary precaution, for instance, password. The challenge with password most times that I found out is that people most times don't know how to give their password. There are a lot of weak passwords. Most applications are trying to help solve that by ensuring that you put in a strong password. But there are a lot of people, you see people putting the password such as maybe their daughter's name, their first name, and then just put 1, 2, 3 in front of it. So if I know your first, some just one English word, maybe something like ceremony, you just put it. And one thing, when hacker is trying to crack a password, there is a mechanism, an attack that is called the brute force. The brute force attack, what it does is that it tries to scan every possible permutations. There is dictionary attack that looks through dictionary to see a dictionary of password, to see whether your password falls within that range. Yeah. There is the brute force attack that does every possible combination to check out the password that you're using. So if you're using a simple English password, you discover that it will be easy to crack, because in a short while it will likely combine them together. But so we must be very careful how we use our password. And that's what, for me, it's funny though. For me, I found that if you're not in English, sometimes using your local name and maybe adding some words to it may be a better password.
I never thought about that.
A better password. Or changing some of the letters to numbers. For instance, you see some people changing where they need to write E, they change it to 3. So, for instance, if I want to use my name, for instance, Shion, as a password, I can start with Shion as 5, and then E as 3. Then I'll replace maybe the length of the password, the complexity of the password. We must be aware of it, because it reduces, or rather, it increases the time it takes to brute force it. And of course, within that time, perhaps you might have escaped. Because most times about security, insecurity is not 100%, but at least you can reduce the time it takes to achieve it, and in that you might escape.
Don't
so
make it easy for them.
Yes. So the complexity includes the mixture alphanumeric and the alphanumeric with maybe some special characters. The length. You can imagine if my password is just A. It doesn't take any stress to. So the length. So most times you see nothing less than 6, or some sites say occasionally there are 6 for password. So that one. Then the other part is, and that is where trust comes to play, and which is also most of the time the like people say, the enemy of security is mostly trust.
Yes.
Some people are so comfortable with disclosing their password. You see, it's very funny, but you discover that you see people that, let me give a pin as an example. They just got their card from the bank and they want to make a withdrawal. They hand over their card to maybe a house help and tell the house help the pin and ask the house help to just go and withdraw for them. Do you get it? So when you disclose that he has the card, he has the pin, what left? And if the house help does not even have a bad mind, who knows who she's talking to?
Who knows?
So eventually, people online, to be safe, one, you have to be careful with how you use the internet, because internet is not restricted to you. You are connected all over the globe, and it means that everybody has access to you as you have access to them. The other one is you must understand how to use your password properly, how to combine your words, how to increase the complexity of your password in such a way that you can remember.
Yeah.
Because that's another problem.
Yes.
Being a software developer, I also understand the issue with complexity of password. You discover that people make their password complex and eventually begin to ask you or say they can't remember again. So when you can't remember your password, it's just like someone that has the key to the house, lock the house with the key and throw the key outside. So you can't even access.
Yes.
Nobody can access you, and then you can't go out. They can't come in. So you have not actually done. It's not still secure.
Yeah,
You get
I think
it?
that's why probably people get such complex password and maybe write it down somewhere. Even when you're writing it down, that
It's
also
still risky, you know?
risky. Or save it on your phone. It is still risky.
Yeah,
so
it still has some level of risk there.
Yeah.
So you just need to know how to craft your password in a way that you can easily remember.
Yes.
It may be your name, but if you can change some words to numbers and then some small letters to capital case, it's going to be strong, and the number is not too small.
It's not too small.
A minimum of 6.
Yeah.
So that's good. And then with that, you must also be aware at every point in time in terms of the kind of technology you are using and what are some of the risks that are involved. You get it? Because sometimes we discover that most of the technology we use nowadays, a lot of them are connected to the internet without us even knowing. And so we must be very careful how we use some of those technology in communication and in interaction with others. For instance, you see some people expose their passwords simply with a call. You see people saying, can I have your PIN? or wants to tell someone something, and then you see them calling or telling their phone numbers or on the phone and in the public space, or telling their pin on the phone in the public space. You need to be aware, you know. Yeah. Basically that's just it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheon Jesurudi. Thank you for educating us, for informing us how to protect ourselves from internet fraudsters. And with that, we come to the end of today's episode on Conversations with Jumie. Thank you for always watching. Thank you for always keeping it with us every week. Until I come your way again next time, I remain your host, Jumoke Ajieti. I know. See you next time.